Welcome to our channel. You've probably held hundreds of Jefferson nickels in your lifetime, but did you know that a few of them could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? In this video, we'll take a closer look at some rare and highly collectible examples that might just be hiding in your change jar right now. Let's get started and see which Jefferson nickels are worth more than just 5 cents. There's a small coin that often goes unnoticed. It passes through hands quickly, lands in pockets, change jars, or vending machines. It's worth 5 cents, it's made of nickel and copper, and it features the familiar face of Thomas Jefferson. But one version of this everyday coin, minted in 1983, ended up being anything but ordinary. This is the story of a 1983 Jefferson nickel minted in Philadelphia. At first glance, it looks just like every other nickel produced that year. The front shows Jefferson in profile. The back shows his home, Monticello. But a closer look at this particular coin revealed something surprising, something rare enough to make collectors pay serious attention. Let's go back to the basics for a moment. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and introduced a more traditional presidential portrait. The design stayed mostly the same for decades, aside from a few small adjustments and a major redesign in 2006. In 1983, millions of Jefferson nickels were struck by the Philadelphia Mint. That year alone, more than 500 million nickels were made at the Philadelphia facility. Most were circulated and eventually worn down by everyday use. But hidden among them was a coin with a minting error that would change its fate entirely. This coin became known for a type of error called a double die. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is engraved incorrectly. If the engraving process misaligns slightly between impressions, the result is a doubling effect that appears clearly on the finished coin. For the 1983 nickel in question, the doubling happened on the front, what collectors call the obverse. The words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year, 1983, all show this doubling. It's not subtle. You can see it clearly with the naked eye, especially on the letters and numbers. The effect looks like a shadow, or like the words have been stamped twice. Coins with this type of error are considered rare, especially when the doubling is strong and noticeable. Most coins with double dies show only slight shifts, something only trained collectors might spot under magnification. But this one was different. The doubling was bold. It stood out immediately. The story of its discovery started with an average person going through a collection of old change, something passed down, perhaps, or simply forgotten in a drawer. One coin looked unusual, so it was brought to a coin dealer for a closer look. That dealer recognized the signs of a potential double die and sent the coin to a professional grading service. When it came back, the experts confirmed it was genuine. The coin was given a designation that placed it among known error types, specifically as a 1983 double die obverse nickel from the Philadelphia Mint. And even more impressive, the coin was graded as Mint State 67, a very high grade on the coin grading scale, meaning it was in excellent condition with strong detail and very few imperfections. Word of the coin spread quickly through the collecting community. For collectors, the combination of a rare error and high condition makes a coin especially desirable. In auctions, such coins can fetch high prices, sometimes far beyond what people expect for a modern coin. In this case, what happened next surprised even longtime experts. When the 1983 P nickel was put up for auction, it sparked interest from collectors around the country. Bidding started modestly, but quickly grew more competitive. Eventually, the coin sold for $72,000. That's right. A 5-cent piece, worth less than a gumball in normal use, was sold for $72,000. It's easy to wonder how that could happen. Why would someone pay that much for a coin that was minted in the millions? The answer comes down to rarity, condition, and collector interest. This coin had all three. It featured an unusual and dramatic mint error. It was in near-perfect shape. And very few, if any, others like it have ever been found. For collectors, that's a powerful combination. Error coins are like puzzles. They show how something went slightly off track in the minting process. And when that mistake results in something visually interesting, it becomes a conversation piece. something unique among otherwise identical coins, the 1983 P double die nickel became one of those standout pieces. It's now listed in error coin references. Collectors use it as an example of how important it is to check every coin closely. It's been exhibited, shared in collector forums, and even highlighted in numismatic publications, and it's a reminder that not all valuable coins are ancient, gold, or silver. Sometimes, modern coins, made just a few decades ago, can carry unexpected value because of how they were made, not just when they were made. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you handle coins regularly, whether it's at a cash register, from a coin jar, or just sorting through spare change, it's worth paying attention. Look at the date. Look at the words. If something looks unusual, don't ignore it. That's how discoveries are made. Not always in rare collections, but in everyday life. Most people would glance at a 1983 nickel and spend it without a second thought. But every once in a while, one of those coins has something special hiding in plain sight. The next rare nickel we're looking at might not stand out at first glance. It's the 1988 Jefferson nickel from the Philadelphia Mint. Just another coin, right? But behind its everyday appearance lies a surprising story, one that transformed a 5-cent piece into a coin valued at $65,000. Most people wouldn't think twice about a 1988 nickel. It's modern, common, and still circulating in large numbers today. Jefferson's profile looks the same. Monticello still appears on the reverse. You've probably handled dozens, maybe hundreds of these, without giving them a second thought, but in a small number of these coins, something unexpected happened during the minting process. A subtle flaw, created by the machinery itself, turned a routine nickel into a headline-worthy rarity. This flaw wouldn't have been noticed by machines or workers during production. But to a trained eye, or even just a curious one, it becomes something extraordinary. Every U.S. coin begins its life as a blank piece of metal called a planchet. That planchet is fed into a powerful press, where a pair of dies strike it, one for the front, or obverse, and one for the back, or reverse. These dies are engraved with the design, and the pressure of the strike forces the image onto the coin, but if the die used for the obverse is engraved incorrectly, if it receives two impressions that aren't perfectly aligned, it creates a double die error. That's what happened here. On the 1988 P nickel, the doubling is visible on key elements of the design. You can see it on the phrase, "In God We Trust." The letters appear as if they've been written twice, one slightly offset from the other. The word "Liberty" shows the same effect, and even the numbers in the date, especially the second 8, show a shadow-like doubling. It's not a smudge. It's not damage. It's a genuine minting mistake made during die creation. This kind of error is rare enough on its own. But what made this particular coin even more valuable was its condition. Most nickels from 1988 have been through a lot: circulation, handling, even rolling machines. But one example surfaced that had never really been used. Its surfaces were clean. The details were crisp. It still had the original mint luster, which is often lost after even light handling. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and this one received a high mint state grade, something only a small percentage of coins ever achieve. That grade alone adds value. But when you pair it with an uncommon error, the value multiplies fast. Now, it's worth mentioning that many people overlook modern error coins. There's an assumption that only coins from the 1800s or earlier can carry real value. But modern errors, when they're significant, dramatic, and well-preserved, can be just as desirable to collectors. And in some cases, even more so, because they stand out in a sea of otherwise identical coins. So, how rare is a double-die 1988 P nickel? Extremely. Only a handful have been verified. Most likely, others were spent long ago and are sitting in drawers, coin jars, or even lost forever. That scarcity makes the known examples all the more important to collectors. When the best-known example was brought to auction, it gained immediate attention. Coin experts and serious collectors watched closely, knowing they were about to see something special. The bidding opened modestly, but within minutes, it was clear this coin was going to break expectations. The numbers climbed, interest surged, and in the end, the hammer fell. The final price: $65,000. That's right. One nickel, worth 5 cents at face value, sold for $65,000. Just think about that. A small piece of metal, no gold, no silver, no precious alloys, simply a nickel and copper blend, transformed into a rare collector's item because of one imperfection, and one fortunate moment of preservation. It's the kind of story that makes you pause. How many times have coins passed through your hands? How often have you dropped one in a tip jar, tossed one in a car console, or left one sitting on the counter? Could one of them have been something more? This is why coin collecting remains such a fascinating hobby. Not every valuable coin is ancient. Not every treasure is buried. Some are still in circulation, quietly hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice, and the truth is, discoveries like this are still happening. People find valuable coins not just in collections or auctions, but in pocket change, bank rolls, estate boxes, or flea market tables. All it takes is awareness, a little patience, and sometimes, just a bit of luck. So, if you come across a 1988 nickel, take a second look. Flip it over and find the P mint mark, indicating it was struck in Philadelphia. Then check the front. Look at the motto. Look at the date. If the letters and numbers seem doubled or misaligned, don't ignore it. It might be one of the rarest finds of modern U.S. coinage. Coins like this are reminders of how small details matter. A single shift in a die, a tiny misalignment, and suddenly a common coin becomes a collector's dream. So the next time you hear a coin drop, or see one lying on the ground, don't just walk past it. Take a second. You never know what you might be holding. Up next is a coin you've probably seen dozens of times. It's the 2000 Jefferson nickel, minted in Denver. At first glance, it's nothing unusual, just another nickel that ends up in your pocket, the kind of coin you might pass over without a second look. But this particular version has a hidden trait that turns it from spare change into something truly valuable. Let's take a moment to think about where we were in the year 2000. It was a turning point, a new millennium. Technology was advancing fast, the world was becoming more connected, and the US Mint continued doing what it had always done, producing billions of coins for daily use. Among those coins were nickels featuring Thomas Jefferson, just like they had for decades. The design hadn't changed. On the front, Jefferson faces left, his familiar portrait framed by the word Liberty and the year of minting. On the back is his home, Monticello, sitting calmly under the words E pluribus unum and United States of America. For most people, the design is so familiar, it blends into the background, but collectors? They notice the details. In the case of the 2000 D nickel, those details matter more than ever. While over 1.5 billion nickels were minted in Denver that year, only a select few are of special interest, because they show a feature known as full steps on the reverse. And that feature is what sets these rare coins apart. That if you look at Monticello on the reverse of a Jefferson nickel, you'll notice steps leading up to the front of the building. Most nickels show these steps as soft or incomplete, worn down from years of circulation or struck with worn dies. But occasionally, a coin is struck with such precision and force that every single line in the steps appears clean and uninterrupted. This is what collectors call a full steps nickel. It may not seem like much, but in the coin collecting world, those crisp, full steps can make all the difference. Why? Because they reflect a perfect strike, evidence that the coin was made at a moment when the minting equipment was in optimal condition. It also usually means the coin was never circulated, never touched, never dropped into a jar or rubbed against other coins. One exceptional 2000 D nickel showed exactly that. Full, unbroken steps. Clear, sharp details across Jefferson's face and hair. No wear, no scratches, and a bright, original shine that could only come from being preserved immediately after minting. It was as if the coin had been frozen in time the moment it left the press. That's the kind of preservation that grabs the attention of grading experts. When this coin was examined professionally, it received a high mint state grade, mint state 68. To put that in perspective, mint state 70 is perfection, and very few coins ever come close. So an MS 68 rating, especially on a coin struck in such large numbers, is incredibly rare, but even more rare is combining that grade with full steps. That's where value begins to climb. Now, coins like this aren't easy to find. Most nickels from 2000 were used almost immediately, buying groceries, sitting in cash drawers, tossed in fountains, or rolling around in car cup holders. Their details wore down quickly. But every once in a while, a coin gets pulled aside. Maybe it was part of a fresh roll from the bank. Maybe it sat untouched in a mint set. Whatever the case, this coin avoided circulation entirely, and that makes it special. What's also interesting about coins like this is how they challenge our expectations. Many people believe that only old coins, or coins made of silver or gold, can be valuable. But that's not always true. Sometimes, a modern coin made from common metals, nickel and copper, can be worth thousands. Not because of what it's made from, but because of how rare its condition is. When the value of this particular 2000D nickel was determined, collectors were amazed. This wasn't a coin from the 1800s. It wasn't limited edition. It wasn't a proof or a commemorative release. It was just a regular coin, except it was struck perfectly, and it survived in flawless condition. Coins like this are a reminder that valuable finds don't always come from rare dates or historic eras. Sometimes, they come from a year you lived through. A year when you were at school, working, raising a family, just going about everyday life. And that's what makes these discoveries so exciting. So, what's the value of this rare 2000D Jefferson nickel with full steps and mint state quality? This incredible coin has been valued at $33,000. Yes, a nickel worth 5 cents on the surface, but because of one sharp strike, clear steps, and perfect preservation, it's now worth more than some cars. Imagine that. One small coin, tucked away in a drawer or hidden in a roll, holding that kind of potential. If you're someone who enjoys collecting, or even if you're just curious, it might be worth taking a closer look at the change you've got lying around. Get a magnifier, study Monticello, and look for those tiny lines. If they're all there, and your coin is clean and uncirculated, you might have something valuable in your hands. Coins like this don't come along often. But when they do, they capture something special, a perfect combination of precision, timing, and luck. Up next is a coin that may look entirely unremarkable but holds a story that surprises even seasoned collectors, the 2007 Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint. A coin that's still modern by all definitions, easily found in change, and often overlooked. But hidden among the ordinary are a few special examples that are anything but common. And one, in particular, has captured the attention of experts, not because of its age, not because of silver or gold content, but because of rarity born from precision, timing, and near perfection. In 2007, the United States Mint was running efficiently and at full capacity. It was a routine year for coin production. The Jefferson nickel, which had seen a few design changes earlier in the 2000s, returned to its classic appearance. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson's forward-facing portrait, a more modern update introduced just a couple of years earlier, looked directly at the holder, framed by the word "Liberty" in Jefferson's own handwriting. On the reverse, Monticello stood proudly, a symbol of Jefferson's vision, tradition, and legacy. Billions of nickels were struck that year. At the Denver Mint alone, over 630 million were produced. These coins were destined for circulation, for everyday use, moving in and out of pockets, banks, and stores. But within that enormous number, just a small handful came out differently, struck with remarkable precision and preserved in pristine condition. Now, what makes some nickels from 2007 so valuable? The answer lies in a combination of near-perfect strike, full detail, and what collectors call full steps. The steps on Monticello, the entrance to Jefferson's iconic home, are a point of focus for serious collectors. On most circulated nickels, these steps appear worn, flat, or incomplete. This happens because the dies used to strike coins wear down with use, and many nickels don't receive enough pressure to fully bring out the finer details, but a few coins are struck early in a die's life cycle. These coins come out sharp, crisp, and rich with detail. On these examples, every line of the steps on Monticello can be counted. There are 5 or 6 horizontal lines, clean and unbroken. When this detail is fully present, it's a major indicator of both a strong strike and a high-quality coin. One such 2007 D nickel stood out from the crowd. Not only did it display bold, complete steps on the reverse, but it also retained all of its original mint luster. It showed no signs of handling, circulation, or damage. From edge to edge, the coin looked as though it had just left the press. It was submitted to a grading service and earned a Mint State 68 designation, a very high grade on the 70-point scale used by numismatists. That score alone puts it among the best examples ever found from its year, and mint. Modern coins, particularly nickels, are rarely found in this condition. Even straight from mint rolls, most coins show tiny marks, soft edges, or light contact from other coins. For a coin to come through the entire minting process, from blank planchet to struck coin, and still appear flawless is rare. Add to that the full step detail, and the coin becomes something truly exceptional. Collectors prize coins that combine rarity with condition. Older coins can be valuable due to age, low mintage, or metal content. But modern coins earn their worth through quality and scarcity in top condition. That's exactly what makes this 2007 D nickel so impressive. It's a coin produced in massive quantities, yet almost none match its strike or preservation. When a coin like this is certified and recognized in the collector market, it draws interest from those who understand just how difficult it is to find. And even though it's a nickel, a 5-cent piece, it can become one of the key coins in a Jefferson nickel registry set. That's the kind of competitive collecting that pushes values higher, especially when only one or two examples of a particular grade exist. So, why does this matter to everyday collectors or even casual observers? Because this kind of coin can still be out there. It might be sitting in a forgotten bankroll, tucked away in a mint set, or placed unknowingly in a change jar. That's the beauty of modern coin errors and condition rarities. They don't require a time machine to discover. They can still be found today, just waiting for someone with a sharp eye. If you come across a 2007 D Jefferson nickel, it's worth taking a moment to look at the back. Examine the steps on Monticello. Are they complete? Do they show strong horizontal lines without any breaks? Then look at the overall surface. Is the coin clean, without wear, nicks, or dullness? If so, you could be looking at something much more valuable than face value. And now, here's the part that surprises most people. That exceptional 2007 D nickel, with its full steps and high mint state grade, is currently valued at $24,000. Yes, a 5-cent coin, still from this century, holding a value that rivals luxury watches, fine art, or classic cars. Not because of gold or silver, not because of age, but because of its flawless preservation and pinpoint accuracy in minting. It's a powerful reminder that value doesn't always depend on how old something is. Sometimes, it's about how well it's made and how perfectly it survives. Moving to the last coin in today's lineup, we shift our focus to a piece that might still be sitting quietly in your pocket, your coin jar, or a forgotten roll from the bank, the 2012 Jefferson nickel from the Philadelphia Mint. A coin that most of us would pass off as ordinary. A coin that seems too modern, too common, to be worth more than its face value. But as we've already seen, in the world of coin collecting, appearances can be misleading, and value often hides in the smallest details. The 2012 P nickel is part of a long-standing tradition. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938 and has been a consistent part of U.S. coinage ever since. While the original design by Felix Schlag remained largely unchanged for decades, the early 2000s brought about a period of redesign and revitalization. In 2006, the current obverse, a modernized portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing forward, was introduced. It brought a sharper, more lifelike presence to the coin, offering a fresh take on a familiar figure. The reverse, of course, still features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, with its iconic dome and steps, standing as a symbol of American architecture and leadership. In 2012, the U.S. Mint struck over 600 million of these nickels at the Philadelphia facility. With numbers like that, it's easy to assume that every 2012 nickel is common. And for the most part, they are. Most of them entered circulation quickly, tossed in pockets, dropped in vending machines, and rattling around in cash drawers across the country. They're still being spent today, blending in with the rest of modern coinage, but what collectors know, and what many overlook, is that even coins struck in high numbers can hold unexpected value under the right conditions. That value starts with quality. Among the hundreds of millions minted, only a small fraction were struck with what collectors call a full strike. These are coins that received the full pressure of the minting press at just the right moment, often when the dies were new and sharp, and when the blank coin, or planchet, was perfectly prepared. The result is a coin that shows exceptional detail. Every feature is clean, crisp, and distinct. No soft edges. No weak spots. Just a flawless image. Point one of the most important areas to examine is the reverse, specifically, the steps of Monticello. These horizontal lines at the base of the building are notoriously difficult to strike clearly. On most circulated nickels, the steps appear worn or incomplete, sometimes barely visible at all. But when all 5 or 6 lines are fully visible and uninterrupted, the coin earns what collectors refer to as the full steps designation, and that's where serious collector interest begins. A 2012 P nickel with full steps is already rare. But combine that with high mint state condition, meaning the coin is uncirculated, free from scratches, bag marks, and wear, and now you're talking about something that stands far above the average coin. These coins are often pulled directly from fresh mint rolls, original US mint sets, or discovered in long-forgotten bank bags that were never opened. It's not just age that creates rarity. It's survival in the right condition. Think about it, out of the hundreds of millions of nickels made in 2012, how many do you think still exist in mint state 67 or higher? Very few. And of those, how many show perfectly struck full steps with no breaks or flattening? That number becomes even smaller. This is the kind of scarcity collectors are willing to search for, and sometimes pay handsomely to own. Another layer of value comes from competition. In the world of coin collecting, there are thousands of people building registry sets, collections graded and ranked by major grading companies. These collectors aim to have the finest examples for each year, mint mark, and variety. And when it comes to modern nickels, competition is tight. Having a top-grade 2012 P nickel with full steps can make the difference between a mid-ranked set and a best-in-class one. That competitive demand helps push the value up. Even though the coin is recent, its condition and rarity elevate it beyond what anyone would expect from a simple 5-cent piece. And here's the most exciting part, these coins are still out there. They're not buried in museums or locked away in collections from a century ago. They're accessible. You could find one in a mint roll you've never opened. You might have one sitting unnoticed in a folder or box, waiting to be discovered. That's what makes this hobby so rewarding, the chance that anyone, anywhere, could uncover a hidden gem. Now, not every 2012 P nickel is valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 5 cents. But when you come across one that checks all the boxes, full strike, brilliant luster, no contact marks, and clearly visible steps, you may be looking at something truly collectible. Something that holds genuine numismatic worth. The value of a coin like this can vary widely based on its grade, strike quality, and collector demand. But what matters most is that these modern rarities exist, and they represent the perfect blend of luck, precision, and preservation. So the next time you're holding a nickel from 2012, take a moment to look closely. Examine the reverse. Count the steps. Hold it under the light. Does it look sharper than usual? Could it be uncirculated? If so, you might have something that's not just rare, but valuable. If this video sparked your curiosity or gave you a reason to dig a little deeper into your own coin collection, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing you more stories, tips, and rare finds, because the next valuable coin might be sitting right in your change.